Ultimate Spider-Man 2 is here, and Peter isn't exactly sure what type of Spider-Man he's supposed to be, plus he already reveals his secret identity. What's going on, Marvelites? I'm Joe, and today we're talking about issue 2 of Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathan Hickman and Marco Checchetto. You probably noticed that we're in a different recording location than usual, and that's because my usual location is just incapacitated for the time being, and the show must go on, so here we are, we're doing it. The issue starts out in New York City, where we see Spider-Man in the black Spider-Man suit swinging around the city. And right now there's a conversation happening between Richard and May Parker, Peter's son and daughter, about if Spider-Man, this new masked hero that no one knows who he is actually real or not. May's kind of scared and nervous about it, and Richard thinks it's all just fake and just CGI basically. Then we basically cut to a scene and we learn what Peter has been doing, and of course he's been training at night trying to hone his skills. And just like in other previous universes and movies, we see Spider-Man kind of struggling with doing these things. And we do learn that obviously he has reaction time is so much faster. He basically has his spidey sense where he knows exactly everything that's going on. He's very super agile. The biggest thing that he's having trouble with is actually stopping when he's swinging around the city with his webs. But in that though, there's a very big revelation that I think we'll see and talk about a little bit later, is that he's able to take a beating and not really get too hurt or injured from it. Right after that, we cut to a scene with my favorite relationship so far in this Ultimate Universe between JJJ and Ben Parker. And of course, they're in like a sauna steam bath having this conversation. In this conversation though, we learn that Wilson Fisk has been under multiple attacks from the Green Goblin. However, with Wilson Fisk now in charge of the Daily Bugle, he has not been publishing those stories that he's been under attack because he doesn't want people to know that, of course. So what he has been publishing is mainly focusing on Spider-Man, of course, like who is this new masked person swinging around the city, kind of bringing that up so people don't think or even know too much about the Green Goblin attacks. And from some sources from Ben, it seems like it's someone on the inside that is attacking Wilson Fisk based on what his source had told him. Now, obviously they talk about that this person must have a serious vendetta against Wilson Fisk. And a lot of people still think that the Green Goblin is Harry Osborn. And while I do think that that is a very true possibility, but there's been no true leaning towards that this is Harry or us giving any hints that the Green Goblin is Harry. Now, yes, there is a variant cover of this specific issue of the Green Goblin, and in the background on a building is the reflection of Harry. However, I would go ahead and say that we've been lied to from covers of comics before. So I do think that there's still a strong possibility from my talk about the first issue that there's a possibility that the Green Goblin is JJJ. And while I do think that that is probably maybe unlikely, however, I still think that he may still be able to get into the Daily Bugle, potentially knowing that he obviously used to work there, right? So like he has access probably to the building, or has someone else who would let him in maybe. And obviously he can carry out his attack. And we know that JJJ has, some beef with Wilson Fisk. So I'm still not sold on the Green Goblin being Harry. Of course it's a possibility, but I'm not entirely sold on it. I'm not entirely sold on it just yet. Then we cut to Peter swinging around again, obviously training, working on his skills, and he's having a conversation with himself, asking himself, like, what kind of Spider-Man is he supposed to be? Obviously, he doesn't know, and he's like, am I supposed to be the Spider-Man and the person that I was 20 years ago when I was supposed to get these powers and do all those things that I missed out on? Or should I just go from now and take what I have in terms of knowledge and skills and just move forward with that? So I think, again, Peter's not exactly sure what he's supposed to be doing in terms of being a Spider-Man. Now, in this, he's obviously still working on stopping, and he stops gracefully on a roof, and he surprised himself with being able to do that. And he sees someone trying to break into a building or like to an elevator that would lead to a bank. Now, he approaches this person that's trying to break in, and he has a conversation with him, basically saying like, hey man, like you shouldn't be doing this. And we learn that this person breaking in is the Shocker, and he basically goes along with Peter being like, you know what, you're right. Thank you for changing my mind. I shouldn't be doing this. And Peter's like, oh, wow, this is a lot easier than I thought it would be. And basically the Shocker's like, nah, I'm just kidding with you, bro. And then shocks him right off the building into a dumpster. And I think this just goes back to, again, the reason why we all love Peter as much as we do, in that he's a person of the people. He always has the best of people in his mind, and he wants to do the best by them. And obviously that didn't work out too well. So we see Peter crawl into his house, he grabs a midnight snack, and he's basically berating himself for falling for such a stupid kind of thing with the Shocker. And then the next thing you know is that May comes out of her room, she's crying, and she's scared because Peter's still in his spider suit, which I think is kind of silly to begin with. Like, why wouldn't he take it off right away? Like, knowing the possibility that his family's home. But I digress. Basically, he ends up revealing his secret identity to May. And he says that I'm going to tell Mom and Richard as well, but let's just keep it between us for right now. And I actually really like that he kind of revealed his identity right now. Obviously, in past universes, Peter goes around basically living a double life for a really long time before exposing his identity to anyone. And I think now, knowing that he has a family, he doesn't want to hide this from them. This then cuts to the Daily Bugle with Wilson Fisk talking with Captain Britain, aka in this universe, Henri Dugarry. I don't know, that was a very terrible French accent. I apologize. But they're having this conversation and Fisk keeps saying that we need to keep putting Spider-Man front and center on the newspaper so that people don't realize that I'm being attacked by Green Goblin. And Dugarry's like, we don't need to do any of this. We just need to take care of it so it's out of our problem, right? And we learn in this conversation that Captain Britain, Henri Dugarry, is obviously working with the Maker and he's in control of this area. And they have given Fisk kind of a little bit more control of an area because we know, or they know, how much power he has and how much control he has over kind of New York City. And you can kind of see in this conversation though that Fisk isn't really too excited about being under the hand of the Maker. He's used to being in control and he still wants to be in control. We cut back to Peter. This is another day. He's been training at night. He's actually just sitting on top somewhere and he's texting with MJ saying, don't worry about me, don't stay up late. And while he's just hanging out, he sees again on the rooftop someone breaking into a building, and it again happens to be the Shocker. He goes back up to the Shocker. He tries, we get the typical quips. And in this though, Peter has naivete and has the best in people, as the Shocker's like, you know what, look, I wouldn't be doing this if my wife wasn't sick and we got to pay the hospital bills. And Peter falls for this again. And of course the Shocker's like, no bro, I'm just messing with you. And then shocks him off the roof once again. After that, we see the Shocker get away in the background, but in the foreground of that panel is the Green Goblin. And he's just been standing there looking on what we're assuming is this entire time. And that's the only little bit of the Green Goblin that we get in this entire issue. So again, we see Peter go back into his home. And at this point, again, he's having a conversation with himself, asking like, is this even what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I've gotten manhandled twice by the same person and nothing from it has really helped. He's scared his daughter and he's like, am I supposed to be doing this? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? It really seems like he's going to give up being Spider-Man. And as he goes to grab a midnight snack from the fridge, there's a note on the fridge from May and she drew him a spider, and it happens to be blue and red and very recognizable from an early Spider-Man suit. And it says, I drew you a spider. I hope you really like it, Dad. And that gives Peter kind of the boost of energy and confidence that he needs to say that he's going to go out and do this one more time and see if he can do a better job. And that is how the issue ends. Some things to really think about and take from this issue. Obviously, Peter is trying and he's not sure what he's supposed to be doing or what kind of Spider-Man he's supposed to be. We've got the typical quips from Peter and that didn't really work out so well. So I wonder if moving forward, he's just going to avoid that, and knowing that he can take a beating, that he's just going to go in and just start fighting these guys, kind of leave the quips aside because they haven't worked. And knowing that he can take a beating that was kind of like foreshadowed, I think he's just going to go ahead and try his best and muscle through a lot of these villains and try and stop them. The other thing that I think is interesting moving forward is, again, we know that Fisk probably doesn't really like being under the hand of the Maker and wants to be in control. Knowing that everyone's going to end up going up against the Maker at some point, I wouldn't be surprised to see if Spider-Man ends up teaming up with Fisk to go up against the Maker. I wouldn't even be surprised if we end up seeing the Green Goblin team up with the two of them as well to go up against the Maker. I really like this issue. I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. It was a great follow-up to the first issue. And if you missed the first issue or you want to get another breakdown or some more thoughts on it, go ahead and check this video out right here. If you want more Marvel content just like this and to be part of a great Marvel community, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. And until the next video, Excelsior.